Let's talk about Google. Is Google a sleeper AI company?
Uh, I wanted to wait to December. One of my favorite comeback stories of just flawless execution is Google. Google has done everything I wish Apple would have done. I can't wait for this update to come out. Um, but just at the highest level, when people were even starting to say, will AI erode their search business completely, they found a way to invest and create AI at a faster scale. And it's a great thing of being focused because as Apple lost their focus, they were able to come in and be a partner. So it is a sleeper AI company. We've been talking about it all year. And I've clearly said, like, once they made the switch in focus, I was the first one to say, hey, they've righted the ship. So I don't think they're a sleeper company, but I do think they are the quietest of the big tech companies in AI, but that's because they're actually executing at a high level.
I think, I don't even know if I want to use the term sleeper. I remember about a year ago, we were talking about this topic, and I think the one knock I had against them was that they didn't have the product. They didn't have the thing, right? There wasn't a thing. And then I spoke to some people in the tech world, and they were like, nah, Troy, trust me. The thing is on the way. And so obviously using that information, doing the research, started to get some calls on them and did pretty well on those calls. And then at the All-Star game this year in San Francisco, we were enlightened by some of the folks at Google. They had been watching the show and talking to us about some of the product things that were coming. And we should just, give it some time and then set some products over to us. And what we've seen is execute. When we talked about the clips earlier, this is the technology version.
Just executing quietly.
They're executing at the highest level. The product is phenomenal. When we're talking about AI, Gemini is still one of the top 3, right?
For sure. And still improving.
VO3 is incredible. Last week, they talked about their potential new deal with Apple to be the search engine. Google has had a phenomenal year. They reported earnings 2 weeks ago. Had an amazing quarter. Innovation looks incredible for the future. They're there, man. They're there. And in fact, I was reading an interesting piece about how they're looking at search going forward, right? When we had to scour the internet, when AI like ChatGPT and Claude had to scour the internet, the data source was Google, because that's the place you go. And now they're saying, like, in the future, they're going to shorten that search so that other models can't take it as much, which was what we'll see, right?
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, I feel like they were a little late to that, though, right? Had they saw that train coming, they would have stopped it early.
It reminded me of Netflix stopping the password share. Like, if data's the new oil, they have all the oil and the refineries. Sam, while you're being arrogant, which you can talk about in a little bit, okay, well, let's cut the pipeline off. And VO and Nano Banana, and every update that Google does, it felt like at one time every week they were launching a new improvement. Just a fantastic. And once again, everything they're doing, I wish Apple would have did.
It's interesting, right? Because now that you said, I didn't even think about that. Like, you cut that pipeline off, and for those, that was what I'm trying to explain here, is that when you search, right, like when Google has like 30 O's inside the word, that's how many search engines that they've done to come up with results. In the future, they're saying that they'll cut that down to maybe 2 pages, right? So remember when people used to go SEOs and they're like, oh wait, we're trying to land on the first 10 searches. Now that'll be confined so that the other companies won't be able to use that database to use inside their platforms, which is interesting. Could Apple have done this? I think Apple could have done something in artificial intelligence. I think the role is defined now. They're going to sit back and watch and say, how do we improve? How do we innovate inside of what's already happening? Google is just innovating. They're just innovating at a very high level. And every time they innovate, there's a response. And so when VO3 came out, we saw Sora. They updated it. Here comes Sora 2. They're leading the way now, right? Like they're leading the way. Search engine is there. We know that is a huge business, and obviously they still have that Goliath called YouTube, which.
And now I was just going to say, and once they figure out how to integrate Veil into YouTube for creators, if you own a cable company, sell.
What would be like? What's reality at that point?
It's tough. Job well done to everybody at Google. Once again, I wish Apple would have done the same.
So there's a thing called the Santa Claus rally in the markets, which traditionally has gone up towards the end of the year. So if people want to invest in stocks or crypto, first off is which one should they invest in, stocks or crypto? And which stocks and what crypto should they invest in?
Should you invest in stocks or cryptos? Both, for sure. It's not the one or the other. So great question. Bitcoin, the predominant crypto. Ethereum is making some moves. XRP, I think, still has some value. Which stocks? The ones I've always talked about, love Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Google, OpenAI when it becomes public. If Sam puts his arrogance away, Anduril when it becomes public, Eli Lilly, and you're good. You only need 4. You only need 4 assets to get rich. You only need 4.
I noticed that you keep saying the same thing, and you're right. And I think people need to realize that, right? Like,
can we talk about that? You're about to blow. Okay, here's a key lesson. Rashad, you can chime in too. Don't blow the bag before you've acquired it. Like, shout to Brad Gershwin. He just asked him a simple question. How you commit to $1.5 million of spend and you only have revenue of $13 billion? Sam's response was, if you don't believe in the company, I can find someone who can sell your shares. Okay, I understand the quip because people do want the OpenAI shares, but that's a wide ass gap in spend that you're committed to versus revenue. It would have been a better thing to say we're at 13 now, we're projected to be at 20 by the end of this year. Next year we should be at 65 and bridge the gap. And Sam's making a lot of enemies very quickly.
His CFO may have misspoke, and I think she did apologize for it when they asked her where they're going to get the money from to fund this infrastructure, and she sort of suggested like maybe it should be
government backed. You want a bailout before you go fucking public? And I know she said she misspoke, but both of you misspoke on the same. And we've all made mistakes in media, so that's a huge. And while China is open sourcing all of the AI.
Yeah, that thought alone is like subconsciously there if you're looking at ways, which is why when we talked about the Berry point is that some data sets you need to just keep in mind, right? So when we're talking about a $1 trillion valuation, and you look at, and they don't have to share their records, they're a private company, but have they made money or are they losing money? I would imagine at the rate that they're spending, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to be profitable right now. Will it be profitable in the future? I'm pretty sure it will be.
For sure.
No.
Temperament of CEO matters. At least when Elon goes off the rails and he's delivered return for the public markets. Same with Steve Jobs, same with Gates. I just think before you go public is not the time to have these enemies. Because remember, like, for those of you who are old enough when the Facebook went public, Zuckerberg had a similar disposition pre-IPO. And all of a sudden on IPO day, for those of you who remember, the market was frozen. All of a sudden, you couldn't buy any shares. It panned out to be a great investment, but that initial IPO day was a shit show done partially by design because of your error. Got to be careful. Sam, be careful. And Elon been telling some truth about y'all. A tweet exchange was interesting too.
Did you see that? They served him papers on stage?
Yeah,
they ran up on him.